Okay, this video is gonna not really have much Excel in it. It's gonna be a video that continues the rooftop solar model. I'm reminding you where you find this. You go to Project Finance Model exercises, and I call them video courses. I try to set them up in distinct lessons, and I tried to make one that works through this rooftop solar model, and I hadn't made my video that kind of describes the assumptions. And then now down on this, after the videos, you find the files that are associated with it. And this one has got an overview and then some assumptions. And then, as I told you before, we kind of have some exercises to fill out, which I think address some of the key kind of things of making a lot of different kind of models. So that's it. Here it goes for the university. That's a ridiculous thing. I don't believe, by the way, in this online learning stuff at all. Now, I just want to talk about some of these assumptions. If we uh, take away the colors, let me just talk about the setup of this, okay? So let's just say we put a no fill, and then we have a kind of just a regular old file. All right, and then if what I did is, and what I want to talk to you about is how to set up this stuff in a logical manner. And if anything comes from the column A, the very first column A, you notice I'm obsessed about keeping these first columns really a little thin and all that. Now, I said, please open the generic macros, and then we can use the Shift Control C or Shift Control R, and you notice there are some parameters around this. This 8 columns says, are we just going to call a title, go across 8, or if we go to 15 columns or 30 columns, it will kind of go to the whole thing. And this stuff says, well, how many rows do you really want to test when you do all of this? This title 1 says, well, let's make it title 2. That will be a more renewable energy kind of title. And then let's make this one, instead of the flexible title, maybe we'll make it color 2. And then you have to press this little thing called implement. And what implement does is it just reads all of this, makes a range name for them, puts it in a public variable, if you care. You don't. Shift Control C, and uh, um, I didn't do it. Okay, sometimes I learn things by just making a video. This was another one. I had to have the calculation. If you go to formulas on the options tab, the calculation tab was to set to manual, so I had to recalculate after I pressed the implement thing. Now, in setting up the assumptions, I first put a start date and then put a lot of stuff that had absolutely nothing at all. I'm not getting emotional about this. Nothing at all to do with money. We start with, in this case, how many, I don't know how you do this, how many people you call on the telephone. Thinking some places the cost of marketing makes this solar almost uneconomic sometimes, which is really upsetting. And then you see, well, how many I put different types of uh, I put different types of um, um, I'm sorry, this is just horrible. I can't get a sentence out. Partly because I'm listening to some very good program. I shouldn't admit this about uh, you know how much healthcare costs in different countries. Very interesting. The then so we put this up in by different categories, okay? And then so that's one of the kind of themes. This one, perhaps I really set it up wrong. We're going to talk in a minute. You want to put 1 to 12, and you really want to put the dates across, and then this degradation. So this is all after we decide how many rooftops we're going to work with. Then we put, well, how much energy are we going to get from this rooftops? And finally, then we say, well, just like anything in life, I know I get a little ridiculous about this because I have people who don't seem to understand this. If you don't make an investment, this is like if I complain about Uber sometimes, I think they say they make a big investment, but I don't see their capital investment. If you want to get a return on something in your life, you have to make an investment in something. And it's painful to make an investment. And you have to wait to get a return. That's in just about anything. So the next part of the model should really be about how much you spend on all these rooftop solar installations. And then we're going to have some different inflation rates. And notice the inflation rates are arranged by calendar year because it would be kind of arrogant to think that your solar installation is going to affect inflation in the whole world. And then you could perhaps put some depreciation and taxes related to this capital investment here. I decided to do that. And then we put the once you have finished how much investment you're making, then you see, well, how much am I going to get back as a return on my investment? And you start with the revenues. And when we look at these revenues, we're going to put a discount in because this kind of assumption that people will just do whatever you want and just sign a contract without getting anything back, how ridiculous would that be? You need to give them an incentive. And in this case, here's the real problem. Sometimes you're not home in the middle of the day when the sun is shining most, and then you don't have enough electricity in your own home to offset the solar power, so you have to send it to somebody else. Finally, a big issue in this is going to be, well, how are we going to address bad debts, and how are we going to address a situation when the collections change over time? That's a big deal. Finally, not finally, then we'll talk about operating costs after we talk about the revenues. And for this, as you get older in your life, the costs of upkeep of you or a solar project or a car, they change. I have this wonderful 1998 car that I had to get my oil changed for. I should have yesterday, as if you give a crap about that. But sometimes when the cars get older, you might have more maintenance on them. And that is a function of the age. It's not a function of here's the age. It's not a function, and really, perhaps this should have, I should have, excuse me, I can't even talk. But sometimes when, you get older and have more maintenance, a car gets older, has more maintenance. A solar project gets more maintenance. This year and month should have really been on the top again. Inconsistency a little bit. And then, excuse me, I don't know what the heck these zeros are doing here. Okay. Um, Probably I just screwed up everything with this. And then, if you have one of these solar project portfolios, you have to have some development costs. And how you're going to finance those development costs is a big issue. You've got some marketing costs and general overhead costs. Finally, a few little financing assumptions, a few little ones are going to drive you crazy. I don't know. This guy put lease balloon and funding term in years. I'm actually going to take those out because I didn't even use those. Uh, so we have a cash sweep, and then and we put in some interest rates, some fees, and some really important assumptions about the minimum cash balance. Then, whenever we put all of these in, we're going to sometimes have to select these and transpose the inputs. Sometimes the inputs are going to come like this. Notice that from the yellow sheet, and all you have to press Shift Control C again, and it colors the yellow sheet. Okay, and I think that's enough. Okay, other assumptions, by the way, we'll make some sensitivity analysis on all of these. I decided to use simply kind of 100% factors on this one, but I think that's enough of the kind of introduction to the assumptions and a little more detailed overview of the remaining videos. Okay, goodbye.